concerns. The Sharp Way is a show where answers, solutions, and common ground can be found so that together we can forge a new way forward. The Sharp Way is the way to mutual respect, where no one has to convert to be heard, because you can be as liberal or as conservative as you want, as long as you aren't forcing your beliefs on others. Welcome to Sharp Way Radio.
Oh, yes. It is Larry Sharpe, WYSL, Rochester, New York, Sharp Way Radio. So happy to have you with me this afternoon. You can, if you want to, reach out to me. I'm going to take some calls starting in the second segment, 585 346 3000. You know, I traveled upstate New York last weekend. In fact, I was in Monroe County. I was in Webster, running around the state, up in kind of western New York, central New York area, everywhere from Utica out to Niagara Falls. An interesting piece was that when I was in Niagara Falls, people recognized me. When I was in Monroe County, people recognized me, which was great. Like on the street, oh, I know you, I remember you, that kind of thing. Made me feel very good. Western New York is a stronghold for libertarians and libertarian ideals. So that was very positive. But something else. People were upset about strikes in the Rochester area, but not just at the hospital, which everyone's talking about, but the actors strike and the writers strike and maybe UPS strike and all the strikes and all the people upset and the labor that's upset. Let me think about something a little bit different. Some of you may remember back in 2019, when I first did my Sharp Way podcast show, I used to do it from an actual studio in Manhattan. I would go into Manhattan, I had an office in Manhattan, and I would do a studio, my show from a studio. So the idea of doing it from a studio made sense to me. Higher quality, more of a team. It seemed to make sense, and I was doing it. But then the lockdowns came. When the lockdowns came, my studio shut down because New York City shut everything down to include my studio. So I decided, you know what? I'm going to do my show from a home studio for a couple of weeks. Well, a couple of weeks became many years because as I kept doing it and as they kept it shut down, I just started to do it here and accepting that I could do it in a home studio. It was easier. It made sense. And something else, the audience accepted it. They were like, well, yeah, everybody's doing it. So now a local studio is fine if it's in your home versus being in some actual studio. Well, the studio, of course, lost money. Who knows if they lost workers or not? I don't know. I don't know what's happening there. And I'd be forward with you because I never went back. I still haven't gone back. That's now 3 years ago. It isn't just that. It's actually also my office in Manhattan. I had a full office in Manhattan. For those you don't know, my day job, when I'm not hanging out with you guys or traveling across New York State, is I'm a business consultant and a trainer and a teacher. So I would spend time at my office doing some training with individuals. I would also go into Manhattan and do one-on-one trainings, also group trainings, sometimes even for city agencies. It was my job. That's what I would do. Then the lockdowns come. When the lockdown comes, well, I can't do that anymore. We can't do classes anymore. Can't have any of that stuff anymore. So I shifted into heavily coaching because it was easy to do from home, over Zoom, or over StreamYard, or over the phone. So I shifted into that. And I thought, well, I'll shift into that for a couple of weeks. That was 5 years ago. Well, I'm exaggerating, it's 3 years ago. That was 3 years ago. Well, you know, you don't do much training in person. You do some of it off and then whatever. We'll see what happens. And all of a sudden now, almost all my training now is through Zoom or StreamYard or something else. So that office that I had in Manhattan is now a sometimes virtual office. That went away too. Right now in Manhattan, and big commercial hub, right? 50% occupation level for commercial real estate. Everything's changed. Now, why would I bring that story up or that concept up? We're talking about people striking now, hospital workers, UPS workers, etc. Why? Because the lockdowns changed everything. Because when the lockdowns happened, hospitals could only do what the government told them to do. And for those of you who don't know, most of the big dollars the hospitals make is from non-essential operations, surgeries, things of that sort, things that are non-essential. They have a lot of markup. They make tons of cash on those. And our governor then, His Majesty, King Cuomo II, he decided, no, you will only do what I tell you, and that's it. Uh-oh. Well, not just that. Now I got to overwork my nurses, and my medical staff, because they can't go home because the world's ending. But not just that. If you don't get the medicine that the government said, yes, I'm using air quotes with medicine. If you don't use a certain medicine that the government mandated, if you don't take that voluntarily, I'm also using air quotes for that, you get fired and you leave. So now I have to work my medical staff harder, get rid of those who won't comply with the medicine, right? I can't bring them on. And because of stupid New York State rules, anybody who comes from another state can't work in our medical system because they don't have a New York State certification. Again, insanely stupid, but we have that. So now that leaves a legacy of broken, angry medical personnel who feel like I busted my rump during this self-inflicted wound. Hospitals who say, you tore us apart. So now we're going to do whatever we can to make our cash back any way we can, to include punishing our staff or whatever we need to do. Again, both sides doing something bad, meaning fighting each other, because of a government lockdown, because of a self-inflicted wound. I left my office and my studio. Self-inflicted wound. I got accustomed to the new norm, and so did most people. Other people now are getting accustomed to the new norm. People are getting accustomed to the new norm. Except sadly for our medical personnel, this is not a good new norm for them. They're not happy about this norm at all. They don't like this new norm at all. They're way unhappy about it. But the government's fine with it because it's good. Whatever, keep going. And if the government has to accept the new norm is bad, then the government has to accept it was their fault that it happened. It's their fault that we have a staffing problem. It's their fault that we have terrible working conditions in our hospitals. It's the government's fault. It is a self-inflicted wound. So the government did it, and the government says, we'll see if we'll fix it. Terrible. So why does this matter with immigration? Because many years ago, maybe 60s, 70s, there was mass immigration, heavily from Asia, South Asia, Southeast Asia in specific, but heavily from Asia, of medical personnel who came to America. Tons of them. Philippines, India, Pakistan, I mean, all countries, but heavily those kind of countries, that area of Southeast Asia and South Asia came to America to fill up our nursing, hospital staff, and all those places, a lot. Still after the 70s, 80s, 90s too, but it was a big push in that area, 60s to the 80s, big push. Why can't we do something like that again? Instead, we are destroying our hospital system by making it harder for people to become part of the system, not pitting the nurses against the hospitals, hospitals against the nurses, again, because of government intervention, pitting them against each other. And now we have immigrants coming to New York State, and we're just housing them, not checking them. There's no Ellis Island. Yes, I'm again using air quotes. There's no Ellis Island to vet these people who are coming to our state to see if there are medical personnel within that group that we could put them to work. Maybe there are. We don't know. We're just shoving them in hotels. We're just having more government money getting thrown at these people, not being able to work, not knowing if there's people that we could actually use to help us out. Government's not helping with negotiating for our hospital personnel, and everybody's scared and angry. The new norm that government seems to be okay with always, which was created by government in the first place, which pits us against each other. And now, sadly, for the people of New York, they're going to pay, some of them, with their lives. Some are going to pay with serious illness and long-term damage from that illness because they're not going to be treated effectively or not at all. Just so our government will not admit that this is a self-inflicted wound, that the new norm that they've created is why we're fighting so much, that the new norm that they've created can only be fixed with actual community, with actual problem solving, with ways of getting the right people in the right spot, with ways of not allowing and encouraging hospital groups to buy up everything, to monopolize our healthcare system, and to work hand in glove with government to dominate and to, in the short run and now long run, punish our hospital personnel. Which, when you punish our hospital personnel, you punish our patients. They're the front line. And who takes responsibility? Let me see. Oh, right, no one. That will be the person or group of people who will. It's embarrassingly bad. Am I right? Am I wrong? Tell me. 585-346-3000. Larry Sharpe, WYSL, Rochester, New York, Sharpeway Radio. Back with your calls and internet chat after the break.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to SimpleTech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that SimpleTech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at SimpleTech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at SimpleTech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
Inside the Taylor Laboratories.
Hey, Tony, what you doing?
A little experiment, Zach. Look what I have under the microscope.
Ugh, what's that?
A sample of indoor air.
How can it be that dirty? Don't AC and furnace filters help?
Only with dust, Zach. But when Taylor installs a whole house APCO air purifier to detox the air, odors, chemicals, mold, bacteria, and viruses are removed.
For clean indoor air.
Yep. Ain't science awesome?
Taylor, 500 help. Flower City Collision in Henrietta is your hometown body shop, trusted by numerous corporate fleets.
All right, we have two callers. The first call is Steve from Friendship, New York.
And working with insurance companies on your behalf.
Then the second one will be Keith from Rochester. So
and their employees as well. Flower City Collision.
I trust you know where Friendship is. Probably been there.
If you need repair, reach out to Zach at Flower City Collision in Henrietta, and he will work with your national.
You gotta love a town named Friendship.
On your local behalf to ensure you get the repair you need done right.
Sharpeway Radio.
Stand by.
WYSL stations.
Yes, it is Larry Sharpe here on Sharpeway Radio, WYSL, Rochester, New York. And before the break, I was talking about kind of government lockdown, self-inflicted wound, those types of things. So I'm looking for some calls. Let me grab one if I could. I'm going to grab Steve from Friendship, New York. How are you, Steve?
I'm good today, thank you, Mr. Sharpe, and yourself.
I'm doing awesome. Is Friendship in? Hold on. Is that Cattaraugus County, Allegheny County? Where is that?
Allegheny County.
Allegheny. Okay, thank you. There we go. I sometimes out the west I forget exactly where every town is, but yes, I knew it was Southern Tier.
I'd like to talk about the hospital and their overreach of power.
Tell me what you mean by that.
The U of R has bought up every hospital in the Southern Tier. There's no independent hospitals anymore. Erie County has the other part of the state.
Yes.
Care is all through those people, and if you need any care from Friendship, you'd better go to Buffalo or Rochester. It's a 2-hour trip either way. It's a shame that we've been abandoned by the healthcare system down here. And you're right, it's self-induced.
Yes. And what I would argue here is, if I could, Steve, is the government, and again, I'm a libertarian, so I'm always blaming government, and I'm going to blame it again. Government has set up a system to where the only way that hospitals believe they can make any money is by consolidating. I see it here in New York City also. I see local doctors' offices getting bought up by big doctors' offices constantly. And the biggest issue they deal with, believe it or not, is administration, paperwork, rules and regulations, and chasing money from the government. So when you can consolidate that into one group of people, all of a sudden people can make more money. So they do it. The system is so overwhelming that a local doctor can't do well. I want you to think about something. If this was 50 years ago and you were a doctor, Steve, you probably would tell your son or daughter, go be a doctor. What a great job. That'd be a wonderful thing. That doesn't happen anymore.
No.
Most doctors now tell their kids, don't you dare become a doctor. It's a terrible idea.
Well, doctors have lost their independence. They can't make independent decisions on their own. I really torqued off a doctor. I said, are you a politician or a physician? Which one is it?
Well, in reality, he's an insurance rep. That's what he actually is, because insurance companies run our healthcare. Now, hold on, be very clear on this something. When it comes to like New York City, as an example, I bring up New York City often because I think New York City, sadly, is the future. Why do I say that? Because a lot of wealthy people live in New York City. They don't go to insurance doctors. They go to doctors who don't take insurance because they're rich. So they just go there and they write a check for X $100 or $1,000 and they get their service from a direct doctor. That doctor doesn't care what an insurance company says. That doctor doesn't care what a government agent says. That doctor only cares about what the customer says because the customer is writing them a nice big fat check. That is completely unfair.
Doctor, I'm willing to change.
Say it again.
Please get me the name of that doctor because I'm willing to change. I would rather have somebody with a brain in their head instead of a stat sheet in front of them.
Well, when I was running for governor, one of the things I was talking about is making it easier for individual doctor groups to create their own groups with an actual gym membership style. Some companies are already doing it. You pay $150 per month. That's what you pay. Go as much as you want, whenever you want. It costs you $5 for a visit. That's it. Go whenever you want. You talk to your doctor, do what you got to do. It's a gym membership plan. It's working across the state. And what it means now is the doctors only care about their patients and not the insurance companies. I think that has to be our future, Steve.
I think
Does that make sense to you?
Should be. Thank you, Larry. You have a good day.
Thank you, my friend. I appreciate the call. So I think Steve's right. It's a problem.
Keith.
Who winds up hurting? Who gets hurt? The individual people, particularly those who aren't in big cities. And Friendship is not a big city. So that's when you get hurt. Absolutely. Let me grab another call if I could. I will grab Keith from Rochester. How are you, sir?
I'll start off by asking a question from a business plan.
Okay.
What do you make with your business acumen that the big boys are buying up the little ones in response to Steve's question? Everyone is being bought up by everyone, not to be facetious. Last night I used Hellman's Mayo. Hellman's is now part of the big British conglomerate Unilever.
Another
Ben
call
Jerry's
on
ice
hold.
cream, Unilever. Minute Maid is now owned by Coca-Cola.
Yes.
In some years, we're going to have only 3 remaining companies in the world, and that's the consolidation. So without me being stupid and going long, let your audience get from you why the business plan. How are the little guys even allowing themselves to be bought up by these conglomerates? And if possible, again, in response to Steve's question, how do we stop it if we can or should?
So there's a couple of things. The first thing is, you are 100% correct, Keith. This is happening not just in hospitals, it's happening everywhere. It's happening in gaming, like Hasbro Games and Parker Brother Games. They're all getting together. It's happening in media. Disney buying everything. CNN, that group. Time Warner, is it? I forgot which one it is. They're buying everything. This is in everything. You are 100% correct. But why? Why would you do that? Why would you be buying up all these things? There are several reasons why. The first one is government, and the second one is finance. And let me cover both of those. Government first. Every time something goes wrong and someone's pissed off, we make more regulations. More and more regulations. There are more regulations than anyone could possibly know or understand, which means regulatory control, regulators is literally an industry itself. So you have to have a group of people who are your regulatory body, people who are fixing things, making sure things are good, people who can sue the government if things go wrong. Well, if you're a small guy, you can't do that. You don't have enough cash. You couldn't do that. Big guys can. So big guys have their group of lawyers and accountants and people who can take care of everything, and then they just buy up other companies, because the one thing they're all keeping together is administration. When it comes to any business, there are 3 parts of any business. You want my business acumen? I will now give it to you. 3 parts: sales and marketing, operations, administration. Those are your 3. Sales and marketing brings customers. Operations services the customers. And admin is just a cost. It's just an expense. Doesn't support customers, supports nothing. Admin supports the government, right? And sometimes internal issues, but that's small. It's heavily government. So how do you deal with that? It's a part of your business that doesn't make any money, right? Operations gets people to come back. Sales gets them to come in the first place. Admin, just the cost. I want to get rid of that. Well, if I'm a big business, I put that in a separate place, and every other person who jumps on board makes money. An example of that also, by the way, is franchising. I can have my own restaurant, or I can get a Subway franchise. I can have my own restaurant, or I can get a McDonald's, right? I can open up my own gas station, or I can get an Exxon or a Sunoco. In each of those cases, the administrative piece is someplace else. That's why they do it for the government issue. But finances, second piece, they save money. But how does a small company move forward, as you asked? The small companies, often their goal is to be bought. That's their goal. That's what they do. When I start my company that sells cool cups or whatever it sells, I'm not trying to build a business. I'm trying to get bought by Big Cup. That's my entire goal. And that's finance, and how finance makes money. And I will cover more of that, plus another call, plus your internet chat after the break. Larry Sharpe, Sharpe Radio, WYSL Rochester, New York, 585-346-3000. Back after the break.
For truth and freedom.
WYSL.
AM 1040.
Okay, so the next call is Steven from Irondequoit.
Here's the latest forecast from the Newstead MB.
Hey, I sent you a text. Did you hear about that Heartland or American Heartland theme park for Oklahoma?
Out there on Wednesday, a hot day.
Check it out.
Sky should be close to 90 degrees. Doing some thunderstorms later Wednesday night into Thursday morning, turning very humid with a scattered shower or storm on Thursday, well into the 80s. Looking at low 90s on Friday. I'm Rich Cordelia, WYSL.
Your business relies on computers.
Yeah, it sounds like the backers might be conservatives that want to give Disney a run for their money, but the lead investor is a guy in his early 90s who made his fortune. He operated like 1,100 Pizza Huts, but it sounds like the $2 billion. They have the money. The people have it. They apparently have the option on the land. But it's interesting because Universal was going to build something in Texas and they either couldn't get the funding, scrapped it, or I don't know what. But I just find it really interesting that the Midwest is going to potentially have something along the scale of Disney, Magic Kingdom, and Disneyland. I mean, the
simple tech innovation.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing is right now, you look at the model, it's just, I've got to say, it's got me intrigued. So we have Steven. Then after Steven, I just got another call. So you've hit some hot buttons today.
Silverado LT Crew Cab, just $370.
Yep. So, okay.
2023 Chevy Equinox LT all-wheel drive, only $219 a month for 27 months. And a 2023 Chevy Trailblazer LT all-wheel drive, just $200 a month for 27 months. Mileage allowance on all deals, $10,000 per year. $2,500 cash or trade equity plus first payment and DMV fees required at closing. Must have current lease and household. Get more details at dealer. And don't forget, Victor Chevrolet also has an unbeatable pre-owned selection. Check VictorChevrolet.com for the new and used inventory, service specials, and deals on tires plus EV special. Whatever brand vehicle you're driving, you can trust it to our Chevy certified service department. Come see how easy it is to do business with us. Find new roads at Victor Chevrolet, Route 96 in Victor.
I was running late for work. Backing out of the driveway, I ran over my wife's cat. Showing up late, they fired me. Then my upset wife left me. Then I called Western New York Sealing and Paving. They did a great job on my driveway. Thanks, Western New York.
Some situations may be over-dramatized.
WNYPave.com. That's WNYPave.com.
Call 247-8466. 247-8466.
Feel the thunder at the AP Property Services Rochester Air Show, August 12th and 13th, featuring the U.S. Air Force Thunderbirds, plus other amazing aerobatic flying acts. Mike Cooley and Aerosports, the Misty Blues Skydiving Team, P-51 and Corsair Warbirds, Redline Aerobatic Team, Rick Volker and Jason Flood Aerobatics. This summer's must-see event. Don't miss it. Ticket options available at rockairshow.com.
Geneseo Hardware and Rental has all your project needs from inside to outside, underground or in the air. A wide range of rental items, boom lifts, trencher, stump grinder, post hole diggers, and more. Geneseo Hardware offers screen and window repair. Voted best hardware store in Livingston County. Open daily, including Sundays. Get personalized service. Geneseo Hardware and Rental, Route 20A next to Wegmans Plaza. Just minutes from Kinesis Lake.
I'm going to take you down.
Not if I level up first. Hey, honey, you're on speaker.
We need help. There's no hot water. Again.
Call Taylor. 500 help.
Tony says call Taylor. 500 help.
Taylor's who we call for heating and cooling help. We need a plumber.
Taylor can help you with that, too. Heating, cooling, and plumbing. Call 500 help.
Tony, I don't know what I'd do without you.
Thanks for getting me into hot water, pal.
Hey, what are friends for?
Taylor, 500 help.
An experienced professional with more than 20 years in dentistry, Dr. David Olivo welcomes new patients to his family practice at 2005 Lyle Avenue. At the office of Dr. Olivo, you'll discover a warm and comforting environment staffed by professionals who are committed to providing the best available dental care while assuring your complete comfort. Call 3382 for an appointment. Dr. David Olivo, offering quality dentistry with a gentle touch.
Sharpe Radio on the WYSL stations.
Oh, yes, it is Larry Sharpe here, WYSL, Rochester, New York, Sharpe Radio, 585-346-3000. For the break, I was talking about companies wanting to get bought. Keith asked me a detailed question, and he allowed me to pontificate on my business world, which I rarely do on this show, but he gave me the shot, so I figured I'd jump in and give you a little bit of it. So you know that I'm not just some guy talking trash. I actually do consult with businesses. Is what I do on my other day job, I guess, is actually true. So let me wrap that up real fast. The point I was bringing up is back in the day when a guy would make a company or gal would make a company, her goal would be to build something big and great. That's rare now. Usually the goal is to be bought. This way, big companies don't have to spend a lot of money on research and development. They can save money on that. They instead sock money away, loan out money, and become banks. I'm not joking. They often become banks. Remember GE used to be a finance company a couple years back? Yes, they still are. Mortgages and such. They become a bank as they sock money away, and they wait for you, little guy or gal, to make a great idea, and they buy it. Well, I don't have to do any R&D. I'll wait for you to go do something. And the people giving you money also want to be bought. So they don't bother caring if you're making any money, which is why so many startups don't make any money, because the goal isn't to make any money. The goal is to make a product that or service that makes sense so big guy or gal can buy you up, and that's how everybody makes money. This is a broken system, Keith. You are correct, but that's how it works. All right, I have shifted off into that. Let me get back, if I could, to the phones. I want to grab Stephen, if I could, from Irondequoit. How are you?
Larry, hi. Good to talk to you again. As a matter of fact, the first thing I want to say is thank you for coming up and visiting us Sunday and here in Rochester and Webster.
Absolutely. Thank you.
So on the hospital thing, 3 points. One, we shouldn't forget that 33,000 nurses and medical people were laid off because they didn't want to get the jab.
Yes.
So
that's the medicine I was talking about before. Yes.
Second of all, the patients, many of them had to wait, 3, 4, 6 months to get an appointment. They still are. There's still long waiting times. And
absolutely.
Third,
and that's the problem that drives me crazy, because now there are people who should have been getting checkups, people who should have been doing routine things that now they miss something. You're totally correct.
And the reason for a lot of those long waiting times is during the, when they had told the hospitals they couldn't do elective surgeries and elective treatments, a lot of the doctors couldn't really practice. There wasn't any, and they could, I can't do this over Zoom. So they moved out of state. They all moved to Texas. Several of my wife's doctors moved to Texas during the lockdown.
Thank you for that, Stephen. I appreciate that, because that part I didn't bring up, and I should have. A lot of the people who were in the healthcare field either changed fields or physically moved. You're right. They either got different jobs or moved away and got a similar job someplace else. They're not coming back now. They're now, whatever, in Texas or Florida or wherever, or they're doing other jobs. Yes?
All right. Thanks again.
Thanks for the call, Stephen. I appreciate it. Yes, I'm glad he brought that up, right? I forgot that part about people literally changing their jobs now. Well, if we had 30,000 people who used to be healthcare workers who now all got laid off because they wouldn't take the medicine.
Mike, Rochester.
Right? That now changes everything. They're not coming back. How are we going to replace them? Just replacing them. Absolutely. So let me grab him the call if I could. This is Mike from Rochester. Mike, how are you?
Hey, Larry, doing pretty good. First time caller, long time listener.
Awesome.
Hey.
Thank you.
Hey, well, Steve stole my thunder there for the most part. I still stand with my brothers and sisters at the hospitals. Okay.
Yes.
They've been, listen, they worked through the COVID. Okay. And then all of a sudden, the Queen Hochul comes down with her edict, and everybody had a split because nobody wanted to take the jabby jab.
These people went from hero to zero in like 30 days. It was crazy.
The TikTok, everybody was bringing them food and pizzas and donuts. They were celebrated. And then all of a sudden, they're the scourge of the earth because they didn't want.
Here's the part that really bothered me, Mike, and if you know the people, you know what I'm talking about. When this first happened, we didn't know how harsh or how not harsh this virus was going to be. We had no idea. It might have been Ebola. We didn't know. And these people still went to work into a hospital not knowing if this was going to be the plague. They had no idea. That is bravery that we rewarded by firing them. That's an embarrassment for our state. It's an embarrassment for our culture, and we are rewarding the wrong behavior. These people were brave. They had no idea how bad this was going to be, and they still went to work. That's terrible.
Oh, exactly. I had family that went to work every day, not knowing if they were going to come home with something. And they separated from their families for months. They actually quarantined from their families, living in the basements. I had family literally living in their basements to stay away from their families.
Literally, one of the things I talked about when I brought this up in 2020 was one of the things that's so funny is that we constantly suspend rules to make things better when there's a crisis, but then we put the stupid rules back into place. We just leave the rules away. We don't need them in the first place. And one of the things I said was we should have immediately suspended all Department of Building rules for any common places in community areas so that people could sleep there. What do I mean by that? What if people wanted to sleep in their local VFW, their local American Legion, their Knights of Columbus? Let people go there voluntarily if they want to, because maybe they want to go home because they were afraid they have an elderly parent at home they're worried about. We did none of that. All we did was punish. You are completely right, Mike.
Hey, one other quick point I wanted to bring up. You brought up earlier about Ellis Island.
Yep.
Okay, about looking for medical staff or things coming through. Well, bringing back to the Ellis Island and the people coming up through our borders illegally, okay, and not being checked medically, we now have a big rash of tuberculosis in children.
Yes. This is not magic, Mike. We've done it before. We can, in fact, now we're smarter, I think, more technology supposedly than when we had Ellis Island decades ago. Why don't we have an Ellis Island now? Multiple of them. You want to come to our country, go to the Ellis Island, get checked out, and if everything's okay, we give you an orange card. I made that up. And then you go to the states that opt in. If a state doesn't want new immigrants, great, opt out. But if you want new immigrants, opt in. And now recruiting companies can literally place people. Now you might go, Larry, but there are still bad guys. Well, the bad guys won't go to the Ellis Island because they're bad guys. So now our Border Patrol can go focus on getting bad guys and not be babysitters for people who are trying to get asylum. Doesn't make any sense at all. Mike, this could work. And if we couldn't do it on the border, at a minimum, we could do it here in New York State. We could have put one in the Bronx in New York City or in Queens in New York City. Either one, we could have done it.
This way we would know who needs medical help. Okay.
Yes.
And we keep communicable diseases down because once it's into the population, then you're just chasing your tail.
Absolutely. 100%. And they don't want to do that. What they want to make sure happens is we still have problems so we can fight over these problems and not solve them. It's terrible. Anyway,
Well,
thank
Larry,
you, my friend Mike. I appreciate it.
Thanks for taking my call.
All righty. I think Mike's correct, right? If we even just here in New York State, just put an Ellis Island in the Bronx here. Everyone's coming to our state, go to the Bronx, get checked out with all your goodies, and that every county opt in or opt out. If you're like, look, we got enough, fine. Or maybe opt in for the type of worker you need. Do you need more farm workers? Do you need more healthcare workers? What do you need? Done. All we have to do is just make sure that people are going where they need to go. The idea of that we can do, we can do better. We can do better. So let me grab, if I could, some of the chat coming in. A lot of people are chatting in. Ymir says, I love Larry Sharpe. I love you back. Absolutely. Yes, 100%. Joe says, but Larry, immigrants are taking my health care. Well, yes. So then why don't we do what Mike and I were talking about and check them out so we can get them the right health care as fast as possible? And I bet a bunch of them also probably know how to service people. And why don't we lower our standards? And if people have good skill sets, allow them to be healthcare workers. Maybe not nurses. Maybe that still requires a higher value or whatever. I don't know the field very well. So I'm sure someone would tell me if that makes sense or not. But whatever, give people an opportunity who have experience to work. If they're going to take our healthcare, let's also have them give some healthcare. So now we're good. So I do like that. John asked, Larry, what are your thoughts on the Anthony Weiner comeback? He seems to be fighting to be relevant again. Everyone deserves a second, third, or fourth, etc. chance. I know Anthony Weiner. For those who don't remember, he was a New York City congressperson and ran for mayor also. I know him. I like him. He's a fighter. He's an absolute Democrat, hardcore Democrat. If you're a Democrat, you should like him. He does fight for democratic ideals. I probably wouldn't vote for him, but good luck. That would be my answer. Everyone deserves a second chance. I agree. Larry Sharpe, 585-346-2000. Shortwave Radio, WYSL Rochester, New York. Back with your chat. Lots of them from the internet when we get back from the break.
Your business relies on computers and
Okay, we have another call. John from Rochester.
Networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at Simple Tech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance.
The calls keep coming in. So after John, we've got Roger from Nassau County.
IT needs are. Simple Tech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
Don't hate your home. Pick up the phone and call Wise Home Energy. The Energy Star Contractor of the Year, Wise Home Energy would like to thank our clients and employees for this prestigious award. For the 6th year in a row, thank you for choosing Wise Home Energy for solving your ice issues, improving hot and cold rooms, and reducing high energy bills. So don't hate your home. Pick up the phone and call Wise Home Energy at 585-270-5836 today.
To celebrate State Farm's surprisingly great rates, we gave this song surprisingly great lyrics.
I love that rate on my new ride. State Farm hooked me up and the stars align on both my home and auto policies. I switched and saved, now I feel great. Gonna tell
Call State Farm Insurance Agent A. Christina Greenhale today, 225-8480.
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Sharpeway Radio on the WYSL stations.
Oh, yes, it is Larry Sharpe, WYSL Rochester, New York. Sharpeway Radio. So happy that you give me a small chunk of your afternoon. Before the break, you were talking about healthcare and immigrants and all the other things the government does wrong, or poorly, I should say. Absolutely. I do want to get to comments, but let me grab a couple more calls if I can before I get back to comments. Luckily, happily, a very busy show. I'm going to grab John, if I can, from Rochester. John, how are you?
Hey, Larry, I'm doing great. You sound great. We're learning a lot. Listen,
Thank you.
You know, I think the thing that really the healthcare system went downhill quite a bit because of Obamacare. That
Yes.
started the doctors having less control and less decision making versus insurance companies and hospital executives making decisions on healthcare. I'll give you an example. Remember when they were debating Obamacare, the issue was they're going to have death panels and that type of thing.
I remember that.
And people, the Obama people, ridiculed that. Oh, that's ridiculous. Blah blah blah. But in fact, these panels in hospitals and insurance companies do make these kind of decisions. I'll give you an example.
Every day.
A friend of mine needed a heart transplant.
Okay.
Unfortunately, because of his age and his health, they couldn't give him a heart transplant. But he went to a number of doctors, and finally they said he could do a heart pump. And he had a heck of a time convincing the hospital in a system to give him a heart pump. But fortunately, after a month or two of negotiations, he's able to get it, and he's thriving today. So, this is the type of thing I think it went down. Obamacare really brought the system down.
Let me go one step further with this. I agree with you, and I'm actually going to put an exclamation point on it. What Obamacare did even worse is it called it a marketplace. Why did it do that? Because it fooled people into believing that Obamacare was free market medical care. And lots of people believe that. Of course, you and I know it's 100% not that. But he called it that so that people thought this is how it is. Oh, so when it fails, they will say the market fails. This way, this will help to push towards a Medicare for all or a single payer system.
And of course, that encouraged consolidation. And you had a fellow calling from Friendship, I think, that was upset because he has to go to Rochester or Buffalo for a lot of health care. The other issue too is Obamacare took a lot of funds, $800 billion out of Medicare and put it into Medicaid. And of course, that total is more than $800,000 or $800 billion today. It's because that was a 10-year projection in 2010. So the clock's ticking over $800 billion plus since Obamacare took effect from Medicare to Medicaid. And that has hurt the seniors.
John, I appreciate the call. You are absolutely correct. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry.
So, John is correct. Obamacare was not the right answer. It failed in every way it could possibly fail. Okay.
Roger.
Let me grab another call if I could. I'm going to grab Roger from Nassau. How are you, Roger?
Hey, how you doing? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Go ahead, brother.
All right, so I'm going to say this real quick. Outside of surgeons who actually do labor, I have more respect for nurses than I do doctors. Okay?
Ooh,
so
I like that.
Hochul is an idiot for firing them, then turns around and says, we have a healthcare worker shortage crisis, saying we don't have enough healthcare workers. So that's two. Now, for private hospitals, I say get it out of shareholder ownership and put in place cooperative ownership.
Ooh, okay. Do you mean cooperative? And let me ask. Do you mean cooperative as in doctors and nurses cooperative, or as in community cooperative?
Both, whichever one you want to go with. And not just the doctors and nurses owning the hospitals. I'm talking including the lunch people that give out the food, include the X-ray technicians, include the janitor, all of them.
I like the idea. The question is, how do you finance that? I like the concept. How do you finance it?
Public drinking.
I knew you were going to say that. I set you up for that one, Roger. I set you up for that one. Yes.
So also, where public hospitals are concerned, we need massive government investment to help out those poor communities to make sure that those public hospitals can properly serve those communities. Also, We need to outlaw.
But no, I disagree on this one, Roger. I disagree on this. Let me
Of
tell you
course
why.
would.
I think if you do a good co-op bank, meaning the workers own the bank, the hospital, you don't require government intervention. You don't need it.
Understood. But what I'm saying is, where you don't have it, that's where government has to step in and do the right thing by the community and have, like a lot of these public hospitals, their ownership hospitals.
Got it.
So what happened was he spent so much of his 10 years doing this that we were underprepared for the pandemic. Okay.
Right.
So there was not enough beds to go around. Why? Because he defunded all the public hospitals. You know. So
I got you.
But also, we also need to outlaw private health insurance companies from operating in New York State and pass the New York Health Act, where the savings will be greater than what we already pay in a private.
Wait a minute. Why would we want to outlaw private health insurance?
Because they don't provide health insurance. If you talk to,
if you have hospitals that are owned by the employees, wouldn't they decide if they would opt into the health insurance or not?
Well, here's the thing: the nurses support the New York Health Act, so they would be on board for it. Now, remember what I said
I'm
about
okay with that,
doctors?
right? I don't want to outlaw. If the hospital system, as it grows to support the communities, decides that insurance is not a good idea, I'm fine with that. I don't want to outlaw it, though. I want the system to function that helps people, and if that works, I'm okay with it.
Okay, all right. Well, however we got to do it. If it's not like an official, like boom, we outlaw it, or if it's like
2 minutes,
we phase it out because it's no good the way it goes the way of the VCR. Okay, whatever.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
That I accept.
You know what I mean? But like I said, I'm a big supporter of the New York Health Act. I know you're not, but like I said, there would be more of a savings. We're not having to pay co-pays and deductibles and all that other stuff. You know what I mean?
Roger, let's work on the co-op hospitals. I think we can jump on that one first.
Sure.
All right, sounds good, my friend. Thank you for the call. I appreciate it.
All
right. Yeah, I like the idea of more democracy. I think direct democracy is going to always be better whenever we can get it. We can't always get it, but I think we should whenever possible. And if we could create more hospitals and doctors' offices where more individuals owned it directly, I think we'd have a better system completely. Absolutely. Let me grab one more if I could. Kirsten, so good to see you. I need to get you on my show again. She says, we've got to get out of this horrible mindset that punishment is our first tool to go to problem solving. Yes, I think we have to make sure that the outcome has to be people choosing to get what's best for themselves. That's not easy, Kirsten. It's very easy just to punish people. That's the easy answer. But I don't want to punish you. I want to say thank you for giving me a small chunk of your afternoon. I will see you all very soon.